and welcome to our Top of Mind podcast. In this program, we will sit down with a higher education technology thought leader and discuss the projects they are working on now and into the future. I'm your host, Caitlin Elkani, Vice President of Client Services and Cybersecurity Research at the Tambellini Group. I'm joined today by Jerry Waldron, who serves as the Chief Information Officer at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. Over the next few minutes, we are going to hear about challenges and opportunities at a resource-constrained institution. Let's get started. Welcome to the program, Jerry.
Thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and your listeners, and I look forward to kind of exploring the topic and also what we've been experiencing over the last few years, and we anticipate we will going forward. We're a lot like a lot of institutions, and we'll kind of drill into that a little bit.
I understand that the University of Maryland Eastern Shore is a historically Black land-grant institution with approximately 3,000 students. What are some of your core mission-critical imperatives?
Right. Well, that's a good question. We are an HBCU, a historically Black college or university. We're in that category. We are an 1890 land-grant institution. We're small with a total enrollment of about 3,000 at the moment. At one point, we had as many as 4,500 students, so that enrollment has dropped in the last couple of years for a variety of different reasons. We have a pretty diverse curriculum. We're small, but we're also a doctoral research granting institution. So we have that Research One focus as well as the undergraduate programs. To give you a couple of examples, we have traditional programs like education, business, computer science, but we also have some special programs like aviation science and a variety of different healthcare professions that serve our region. So we are a pretty diverse institution academically. Yes, we're experiencing some challenges with enrollment, but if you watch the Chronicle of Higher Education or LinkedIn or any of the other sources that are out there, this is a lot more common today. I know it's true here in the state of Maryland at public and private institutions, as well as institutions across the country. These are times of great change in higher education, and I think as a CIO or as a CIO at any institution, we really need to kind of hone a new set of skills, in my view.
Jerry, when did you start as the CIO at UMES, and what kind of working environment did you find?
Well, I started as the interim in July of 2018, so it's only been a little over a year ago. They had been without a CIO for 2 years, and prior to that, the CIO role was filled by a vice president who had other responsibilities outside of technology. So really, the area was run by 2 directors, one in IT and one in administrative computing. When I got here, part of the task was obviously dealing with budget challenges, but also pulling those 2 groups together to form a constructive and effective IT team. Now, my background in the state of Maryland goes back pretty far. I was the CIO at another institution within the state for 14 years. And then I went to one of the smaller colleges in New Jersey and another one in Pennsylvania. So I have 17 years as a CIO, coming up on 18. So I've been around the block a few times, but I have to say that every institution is different. And at this institution, I found that obviously since enrollment had dropped over the last 3 or 4 years, that we were in the middle of some serious budget cuts. We had lost about 20% of our staff, and we had lost about 45% of our operating budget. So that's a story in itself.
I recently read that overall state funding for public 2-year and 4-year colleges in the school year ending in 2018 was more than $7 billion below its 2008 level after adjusting for inflation. Have you been impacted by state budget decisions?
Well, Yes, but this goes back a lot further than 2008. When I started in higher education, really 3 decades ago, we were in a much better position financially. The states across the country played a much bigger role in funding higher education within their states. That has been declining for the last 2 or 3 decades, and so we're seeing that the state-funded institutions are just having to be more entrepreneurial and more focused on their own programmatic fund generation and really manage their own destiny a lot more than they used to. And of course, we're dealing with some of the criticisms and challenges from the public because we are we're charging more for more services, but at the same time, they may not know that state funding has been consistently declining. Now, that's part of the issue, but I think a bigger part for a lot of institutions like ours has been the enrollment downturn over the last couple of years. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that because I don't want to lean too much on the state funding because that's been kind of a way of life for most of us. We're in some interesting times. The first thing that I think everyone sees when they watch the news at night is that we're really in a booming economy right now. Now that's great news for many of us in our 401ks and that type of thing. But higher education is always in sort of an inverse relationship with the economy. And again, in all my years in higher education, I've seen that when the economy is doing well, there are job opportunities, there are places for individuals to go and succeed and grow. They're not necessarily needing to come to an institution, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year school, to get that skill to prepare for the next opportunity. So that affects your pool of students. So the strong economy is not necessarily a great thing for higher education. There's a lot more competition going on in the space. Just this week, NACAC, which is the National Association of Admissions Counselors, actually made a change at their annual meeting in their code of ethics that is somewhat influenced by the Department of Justice over the last few years. But they're encouraging competition to even a greater extent than they have in the past. So the hope there is to drive down costs for consumers, but it kind of lets you know where we're headed over the next couple of years. Basically institutions that had a student committed to their institution didn't have to be too concerned about competition from other schools because there was really an ethical code to sort of keep folks in a check. And that's going to be changing over the next couple of years. So it'll be a tough market for colleges and universities as the competition is ramped up. I think too, cost. Students are taking a look at a variety of pathways. Those students that are pursuing a degree are looking at a variety of different pathways to getting that degree. They may take some courses online while they're in high school. They may go to a community college. They may take a mix of online and in-person classes. They may take courses over a number of years as a part-time student. There's just a myriad of different pathways to a degree that are out there. And that's great for students, but it can be a little challenging for institutions because, again, competition is ramped up. And, that traditional 18-year-old who's on your campus from 18 to 22 or something, that number is just dropping. And another thing that I just actually realized over the past, just in doing some research in preparation for this conversation, is that really since 2008, when we had the Great Recession, the number of babies being born has actually declined during that period and in subsequent years. And that you'd think that may not have much of an influence on us today, but it will, all the way through 2026 and beyond. So we will see a smaller population of students to even be applying to our institutions. So there's a lot of demographics that are at play here, but I think colleges and universities are going to have to kind of reinvent themselves and really kind of hit that target population and be a lot more aggressive about what they're looking for, where they look, how they look, and that has an impact on what we do in IT. I mean, we definitely need to be strategic partners.
You've brought up this idea of enrollment and enrollment numbers tied to really big demographic shifts out of your control. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about this idea of access and equity and dig more into enrollment. Research shows that both access and equity are threatened when higher education institutions are underfunded. They're separate from some of these larger demographic trends. What do you think IT's role is in supporting access and equity generally?
Well, I think, having worked on, I've worked at a couple of other public institutions as well as one private institution for a bit. And, when you are dealing with a campus environment, we're not a virtual campus, we're not an online campus, we're not in an urban center where we have a lot of evening students and evening programs. Yes, we're Research One, but, we still, our big target is students in that younger demographic for the most part, as well as professional programs. And I think, IT, when you're dealing with that population, the needs and wants of students are similar in any institution you go to. I've been in this a long time. I can remember back to, when we took legacy systems to the web, when we had, I even go back to Y2K and during that period. And after Y2K, we ended up putting in a lot of web-based systems to do just a whole bunch of things. And the students that are here now have grown up in that environment. And the expectation is that we will not only be on the web, but will be as effective as most of the retailers that they work with on a daily basis or they interact with. So the expectation level has gone up dramatically over the last decade or two. And, I think from IT's perspective, we need to meet those requirements. And again, regardless of your funding level, IT is really a fixed cost. And, if we're going to serve, any particular group of students, we need to be able to provide the services that they need and they want. So when enrollment goes up a little bit or down a little bit or whatever, we still need to be on the job with supporting the students, supporting the classroom, supporting the networks, supporting the software systems that are needed. Again, a lot of these, if we go up 1,000 or down 1,000 students, they still need to be there. And accessibility is really linked to all of that because we want our students to have the same experience that, or even better, as students at other institutions. So, I think IT really needs to do a variety of things to help accessibility and to help enrollment. I've been talking to people just as recently as today, as a matter of fact, about our need to clarify and reestablish our commitment and our visions. We need to get closer to our core business. In our case, it's enrollment management. We need to try and hold academics and research harmless if possible. We need to reorganize as needed, but maintain a customer service orientation. I think we need to review every single expense, and whether it's software, staff, or hours. And we need to leverage every IT asset. I know these are tough things to say, but we again, I come back to one of the bullets that I mentioned a moment ago, and that's holding academics and research harmless. If we're going to meet our mission, if we're going to perform the tasks and the vision that the university expects us to perform on a daily basis, we really need to be committed to what's happening on the campus. In my case, I have to be closer to the business and the enrollment management and the student activities and the student programs than I've ever had to be before. We have to operate as an extremely tight team. And all that affects enrollment, all that affects our ability to provide access. And, it's a different world when you're, when you're under some tight constraints. And I think you grow as a CIO, though. I don't want to be all negative. I think there's a lot of upside. You just, I remember years ago, I remember taking a course as an undergraduate that talked a lot about values clarification, and I think that's kind of what we're going through, and a commitment on everybody's part to where the institution is going and who we are serving.
And Jerry, how are you boosting enrollment with technology today?
Well, we're doing a number of things. As I say, we've aligned ourselves, particularly in the last year or so. Our institution went through a pretty dramatic change in leadership, new president, new cabinet, and our whole enrollment management effort has been re-engineered, and IT is an integral part of that. We are involved by providing data. We provide analytics platforms for people to answer questions quickly and accurately. We support our CRM system, which is customer relationship management. I mean, we've supported it for a while, but I think, again, when you're going through a period of re-engineering your enrollment management, you re-engineer a number of these tools, and you start asking yourself, whether or not they're effective and how can we use them better. And we're also adding some things like, mobile apps and other web tools that students can access, 24/7. So, there's a lot going on. I honestly, I think we're more aligned with the strategy and direction of the institution than probably this organization, this IT organization ever has. So it's not a bad thing. You really feel like you're tight with your customers and tight with your leadership.
What kind of creative solutions have you found to help mitigate the impact of budget cuts and this impact of declining enrollment?
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's certainly no magic bullet or I think you go back to basics. I know over the years I've pushed for things like academic technology renewal, laptop and desktop computer replacement, infrastructure, whether it be network or whatever. And when you're in the kind of environment that a lot of institutions are in, you need to squeeze the life out of every piece of equipment, and whether it be a computer or a network device. At the same time, you have to make sure that you've got the right security in place to make sure that you're not compromising your network or your ability to perform. I think the key, in my case, it was reviewing every single expenditure. Now, I say that slowly because I do mean every single expenditure. I personally approve every dollar that's spent, and I'm not trying to micromanage. We're not a big shop, but those decisions come directly to me. Again, luckily they're coming to me electronically a little at a time, but I get a chance to see who's doing what, both in our department and across the campus with regard to IT spending. We have developed standards, and we're working with people in the various areas, even if they have grant funding or research funding, to try to stick to those standards wherever possible. So again, it's a very active role. We went back and looked at our software expenditures in detail, product by product, and I would really suggest that any institution do this on a fairly regular basis. We were able to cut about 30% of our operating budget by going back and really asking the question, who's using this? Why are we using this? How long have we been using this? And is it a part of where we're headed? And we were able to cut quite a bit. So there's a lot more in most institutions' budgets than they think. I don't think that I've gone through the exercise as judiciously at other institutions. I mean, I probably would have told you that I did, but honestly, I don't think I did, not at this level. So, again, it's not rocket science. Another thing we're doing is reorganizing our staff. As I said at the outset, we lost about 20% of our staff, and we haven't been able to replace them. So we've done some reorganization. We've done some some shuffling of duties and responsibilities, and that's been a bit of a challenging process because you're having to explain to human resources and the leadership exactly why you need to make the changes that you need to make, and compensate people fairly, and so on and so forth. Again, we're squeezing the life out of every piece of equipment, and I hate to say it, but we're probably squeezing a lot out of our staff as well. I also have something set up on my desktop that if a ticket, whether in any area, comes in and is not attended to in a 2-week cycle, I know about it. And we can take action. Again, we're trying to hold academics and research and as much as possible administrative units harmless. So it's kind of getting to basics that honestly I don't think most CIOs very often get to. Even if an institution is doing okay and the enrollment is okay, and even though they'd like to have more money, they don't get to this level of really maximizing every single dollar. And I don't think it's a bad thing, because I think that it really gets you back to saying why or why not all day, every day, and that's not a bad thing.
You've given some advice during our discussion to institutions who might also be working within a resource-constrained environment. Do you have any other advice that you would give someone else in your position?
Well, I mean, I think probably the key thing, and I would have said this years ago, but I think it's even more important now. I think IT, we can debate whether or not it's seen as strategic or operational on different campuses, but my focus has been less on where we stand in terms of the hierarchy, and a lot more on communicating with my team and communicating with my customers. And my customers, obviously being students and being faculty members, but also being folks in the different offices around the campuses, our campus. I want them to know what we can do and what we can't do, and when we can do it. And if we can't do it, then we can't do it. But we don't want to be considered the black hole of IT, or the tech Nazi or anything like that. And IT sometimes can build up a bit of a tough skin because of the criticism that we get. But I think again, when times get tough, the communication is all the more important. I mean, I reestablished a governance process here, not so much that I'm looking for the members of the campus community to tell us how to run IT or to even help us with priorities, but I really want to hear what they have to say, and I really want them to know what we can and cannot do. And I think they can help us in terms of identifying priorities, but also articulating those priorities up the line, and helping cabinet members and the president know what's truly important to the community. I mentioned earlier reaffirming the vision and the values. We often say we need to align our IT operation with the values of the institution, and that's absolutely true. But I think when you're in a resource-constrained environment, you need to have those conversations with your people every day, and you need to walk the walk and talk the talk, so to speak, so that they know that you're in it too, that you understand the challenges that they have. And you're really articulating or re-articulating the vision and the values of the organization, but also of the campus, so that you get a level of commitment, or you work towards a level of commitment that helps you through the really tough times. I just suggest, and I know a lot of CIOs would say they do this, but a key is to advocate for your team. When you are in a situation where you're asking folks to do more, you need to support them, whether it's looking after a request for an upgrade or a promotion or a realignment or whatever it is. You need to advocate for your team and let them know that you're really you're there for them, because you're not going anywhere if your team doesn't have your back and you don't have their back. Again, I would say one piece of advice that we should all do on a regular basis is ask, why or why not, every day. When you come into an institution as a new CIO, I've been a CIO for years, but I'm new to this institution. To really honor the opinion of others and ask that question of why have we done this? Why are we not doing that? But keeping an eye all the time on your vision and values, and not really get hung up on what was done before, or what the previous director, previous CIO had thought. These are different times, and we need to really, really challenge ourselves and challenge the ideas and policies of the past, and keep our eyes on the prize, as they say.
Thank you so much for your time today, Jerry. I've really enjoyed learning about the work that you're doing at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore and how you and your team have gotten so creative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
This concludes our Top of Mind podcast. Please check back with us next month for another great topic. And don't forget to purchase your ticket for the Tambellini Cloud Transformation Summit, where we will explore trends in core systems, student success, big data, and more.